your final grid of this Missed Apex Championship is Todd Owen in first place, Matt Trumpets in second, Mike Stoner third, Dimitri in fourth, Tim Ellis is fifth, Spanner sixth, Tom Jenkins in seventh, Rich Morgan in eighth, Jose is in ninth, Andrew Sexton 10th, Mark Greenhow in 11th, Colin Ward 12th, Luke Power 13th, Daniel Cook 14th, James Gill 15th, Stephen Williams 16th, Danny Hannay 17th, and Nat is in 18th. That is your starting grid for this sprint race. Reverse grid, as we mentioned. Here we go, ladies and gents, for the last time. Just waiting on our final front two to line up there. As you can see, the front of the grid is empty. Those front two grid slots, we are waiting for those. And then it'll be 5 lights on, lights out, and we'll be away we go. So hopefully no one has a mishap like Spanners did earlier on in the feature race when it went for a toilet break and knocked out some unfortunate cables. Here we go. Lights are on. 4 lights. 5 lights. It's green light. Away we go here for the last time of the season. And it seems to have been a very good start for those at the front. A couple of slow movers at the back there. One of them being Stephen Williams and that's of Nat. But not a good start for Stephen Williams there as we head back to the front here. So, someone ran very wide there. A few drivers just in 4th position. We can see Danny Henney in the back in the red livery as Mike Stoner leads us out front here. Down into turn 5 for the first time. Tim Ellis is in P2 with Tom Jenkinson in P3 as Mike Stoner goes defensive to the inside. Maybe defending a bit of clean air there, to be honest with you. And leaving him susceptible to the run of Tim Ellis. And there's contact in the back. Someone is round. I think that's Jose I saw. We'll get a replay any moment now as we look here through the turn 5 hairpin. Keep an eye on Jose there in the middle. And who was that sending it down the inside into a gap but didn't closing gap that was always going to exist? It was Luke Power. A rare mistake from Luke Power, but he definitely has to hold his hands up there and take the blame. And Jose is in the pit lane. There is a fast repair that is available in these races in this championship, but it does mean that he will be starting almost a lap down as these drivers are making their way around. There's more contact at the rear of your camera there. It seems like it's who is it dropping through the field? It's Andrew Sexton who is in the pits now. Someone spun round again. I don't know who is exactly involved in that. We're watching it here. And oh, dearie me, Andrew Sexton just locked all 4 wheels up there. Also forced off, I can't tell who that was, who he forced off there in the midst of the gravel smoke. But Mike Stoner is now behind Tim Ellis as Tim Ellis has managed to find his way into the race, into the lead of this race. It seems Spanners was the one who got caught up in that. So Andrew Sexton just T-boned Spanners there as there's someone else who runs into the gravel in the rear view of your camera. But Tim Ellis leads from Mike Stoner with Tom Jenkinson in P3. We have Rich Morgan in P4, but for how long will Rich Morgan be there? Because we have Tom Jenkinson being under attack as Rich Morgan looks to go around the outside of the hairpin on Tom Jenkinson, but Tom Jenkinson says, no siree, I am not allowing you to go around the outside there. But it's not over and done with yet, as Danny Henney is looking to capitalise on this battle here, as Rich Morgan has to give up on that battle on Tom Jenkinson and watch his rearview mirrors. No apologies, it's Dan Cook, but Danny Henney is there as well. I'm getting the 2 red car liveries mixed up here, but you can see Stephen Williams there up into P5. How has Stephen found himself in P5? He's come from absolutely nowhere. Massively capitalising there as they're wheel to wheel through the chicane. Very, very brave by Daniel Cook, but how brave is it? Is it maybe a bit more stupidity there? Because Danny Henney is looking to capitalise here as he's looking on the inside. You can see, no doubt, he's going to go for a move on the inside here, late on the brakes. A feature race winner, a championship winner, confirmed of the Missed Apex iRacing Championship for this season. But as they cross the line for the second time, as Danny Henney dives into the... Is that Danny Henney who just dived into the pit lane? I think it was. Mr. Henney is in the pit lane. Oh my goodness, what has happened there? Danny potentially, he has a... Why is Danny in the pit lane? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe there's... Oh, it's Jose! Was that Jose who spun off there again, who is a lap down? I think it is, yes, Jose, who is a lap down, spinning off there in the camera angle, but Danny Henney definitely taking a pit stop. But look at this battle for P2 as Tim Ellis is running away with this for the race win here as we unfortunately go to a camera angle here, a replay of Jose exiting the pit lane, a lap down and spinning the car. There was a battle ongoing here. for P2, who has come ahead. There's contact in the back between Colin Wall. This sprint race is providing here the last race of the championship. Mike Stoner, who was in P2 heading into turn 5, now finds himself down in P5. What the hell happened there? As Mike Stoner found himself as, oh dearie me, unfortunately Colin Walters found himself mounted by Dimitri there after getting caught up in a slow moving car. Mike Stoner had the move sent on him down on the inside and found himself out of position, and well, that now allows Daniel Cook to go down the inside. A great move by Daniel Cook on the inside there into the hairpin, and he now is up into P4 and Mike Stoner is in P5. So Mike Stoner, unfortunately, after being forced out of position, was in P2 and now finds himself in a single lap 3 places down into P5. But Tim Ellis leads, fastest lap of the race, and we're watching Tom Jenkinson here with Stephen Williams going round. There's so much more contact in this sprint race. What has happened with the racers here this evening? It's the last race of the season and it's like they've just gone crazy. I don't know what they've had in the interval, guys. Maybe someone has slipped something into each and every person's drink. But Mitch Mauldin is in P3. He's looking to end this season on a high as he is in the slipstream with Stephen Williams, who I swear Stephen Williams was like second last at the start of this race and got very slowly off of the grid. God knows how he finds himself up into P2 right now. But here we are, with Tim Ellis leading by 7 seconds over Stephen Williams, with Rich Mauldin looking to try and secure a podium here. Daniel Cook is in P4 with Mike Stoner in P5, and you can see here the late apex of Rich Mauldin trying to get that throttle as early as he possibly can and straighten out that exit. A very difficult corner, arguably the most difficult corner on this racetrack here at Magny-Cours in turn 9, other than maybe that last chicane. But a little bit loose there from Rich, but he stays within touching distance of Steve Mauldin, but he has brought Daniel Cook into play here. Daniel Cook, who has made some good overtakes already and finds himself in P4. He is looking to try and secure a podium here in to round off his season. We have Mark Greenhow in P6 with Tom Jenkinson in P7. Danny Henney is in P8 after making a forced pit stop. Still not entirely sure why he made that pit stop, but there we go. There he is in P8. He is 9 seconds back from Tom Jenkinson, with Luke Power not too far behind him. Todd Owen is in P10, but we're going to rejoin this battle out for the last podium position here. As you can see, Rich Mauldin taking a much wider line, but I don't think that's really worked for him, as Daniel Cook was a lot tighter and was able to get on throttle much sooner, and you can see him tucked up under the slipstream. He pulls out onto the inside, and I think this is a done deal before they even head into the braking zone here. And there we go. Daniel Cook solid on the brakes, hits the apex. Little bit of a lock up there from Rich Mauldin on the outside, and Daniel Cook finds himself now up into the podium position of P3, and well, he'll be looking to maybe try and close down on Stephen Williams, who has eaten away slightly into the gap of Tim Ellis. That gap not too long ago was over 6 seconds. Now it is 5.7 seconds between Tim Ellis and Stephen Williams, with quite a long way to go in this sprint race here. Who will end up winning? Will Stephen Williams be able to close down this gap on Tim Ellis? I think he may, because that gap is now at 5.5 seconds. So we'll keep an eye out on that interval. But yes, indeedy, look at that. Stephen Williams is up 14 places. How in God's earth is he in P2? My eyes definitely weren't deceiving me at the start of this race. He was 100% P17 at one point and was very slow off the line, and now finds himself up into P2. As in the background there, we can see Rich Mauldin taking to the grass there, going very wide on the exit of the chicane out of the last corner, but keeps the car pointing forward here as we have a look at this replay. Rich Mauldin trying to close down the gap back on Daniel Cook. A little bit of a lock up for him there, and that just left him out of shape. And you can see, if you just nick that chicane not perfectly, you end up through the grass. So lost all important time, but does seem to still maintain a decent gap to P5 and Mark Greenhow, who is 2.9 seconds behind. Although Rich Mauldin has just lost quite a lot of time. What has happened to Rich? Rich is now into P5. What has happened to Rich? Rich has maybe got a mechanical issue, because he's falling through the field here. If you look at the interval times, Rich Mauldin is now down into P5 and Mark is into P4. Did he pick up a slowdown maybe? I'm not entirely sure what happened. I think maybe he did pick up a slowdown, Rich Mauldin, because he just lost a whole heap of time and is now down into P5, where Mark Greenhow is now up into P4. And I couldn't see a conscious error there, so I think Rich got maybe a slowdown for maybe that excursion through the grass out of the last corner. As always, got very wide. What is going on with Rich here? Unbelievable. What is going on? He's clearly got a problem. He's just now allowed Tom Jenkinson through, and Mike Stoner's just made a position as well. And Rich, who was only a single lap ago in P3 in the podium positions, now finds himself down in P7. But he is on the attack of Mike Stoner here. I'm not entirely sure, as Rich Morden does have a black flag. I have been informed that Rich Morden does have a black flag. He's going side by side with Mike Stoner here, but he does have a penalty that he will have to take. So yes, undoubtedly a slowdown maybe, but Rich Morden has not taken within the time limit, and that is why he has a black flag and has lost, unfortunately, a lot of positions here, and he will lose more positions with the field closing up when he eventually has to take that penalty, which needs to be taken within 3 laps. Otherwise, it is an eventual disqualification. So a real turn of events here for Rich, who was in the podium position not too long ago. We're on board here with Colin Ward, the closest drivers out on track right now. Colin Ward who did have a tangle earlier on. He got caught up in an incident, unfortunately, earlier on in this race, but with the fast repair, he's able to get back out there and still participate in this sprint race. He is in P11, chasing down another top 10 here, like he did in the feature race, and he's really closing down that of Todd Owen, as he has got ahead of him. Colin Ward, confirmation there on the timing tower. He has got ahead of Todd Owen into turn 9. So Todd went very deep into that corner, and Colin said, "Thank you very much. I will take that door that is kindly being held open," and now is up into P10. We're on board with Spanners here, who is very much better. Well, I say he's very much better. He is in P14, so not entirely sure what... Oh, no, we do know what happened, apologies, with Spanners. He got T-boned by Andrew Sexton in the very corner, but he's just made his way through into that turn 14 hairpin. So that is why he is down in 14th right now, as we watch Rich Morden here, who... as his race has just gone from bad to worst. He has a penalty to take. He is now in the pit lane, and well, he has gone round on himself by making a slight bit of contact with Mike Stoner ahead, and well done to Danny Henney for that avoiding action, who is in P7. So we are on board with Stephen Williams. I said keep an eye out on that gap, that interval to Tim Ellis out up front. That gap, which was not too long ago over 6 seconds, is now down to around 4.5 seconds. But will Stephen Williams have enough time? We do suspect he will, as it is coming down every single corner that he takes right now on Tim Ellis. But we know catching is one thing, overtaking is another. He will have 11 laps remaining here to be able to close down that 4.5 second, just under 4.5 second gap, and overtake, as we join on board with Danny Henney, our championship winner for this season, confirmed after that race win in the feature race. He is looking to overtake Mike Stoner, who did start on pole position here, and we have Luke Power not far behind, as we see Danny Henney. He's going to go late on the brakes down into the second to last corner. He does indeed, as Mike leaves him plenty of room, maybe too much room, and Luke says thank you very much, I will take that gap as well, as Luke goes past Mike Stoner. 2 places lost in the same corner there for Mike. But maybe he knows this isn't his battle, and just trying to solidify a decent result in the top 10 here, with Colin Ward being 13 seconds further behind Mike with 10 laps remaining. But Danny Henney being chased down by Luke Power. This is the battle that we should have seen in the feature race, but Luke Power, of course, had a very, very slow start off the second position grid start place. Very long-winded and very convoluted way of saying basically he started second place there, Scott. It was a very poor start for him, and that's why we were robbed really of this battle. So we'll see how that fares, this gap between Danny and Luke with these laps remaining. But as we head back up, or I say we head back up, the closest battle out on track was Dimitri and Todd Owen, but that gap has just now been extended a little bit. Todd is fighting Dimitri for P11. We have James Gill in P10. And you can see here Spanners closing up on Todd Owen here, who did go for a move on Dimitri, it seems, looking at the timing tower in that very nice Simpsons Duff livery. So Spanners there taking a much wider line, staying on that curb maybe a little bit too long there. You can see the F3 car here, but it bottomed out and it jumped up and lost a bit of time. But is he too close here? And Spanners cleverly just lifts off a little bit, gets a nice decent run. Is he going to go for a move? No, he's biding his time here, Spanners. And well, maybe it's going to work out well for him because Todd has gone very deep into that hairpin, and Spanners gets a much better drive out of the corner and very well executed. Sometimes patience is a virtue, and Spanners there capitalising on the mistake of Todd, keeping the pressure on. A little bit of puff smoke for Spanners there into the second to last corner, but he is now up into P12 and will have his sights set on Dimitri for a top 11 position, with Connie Wall, with James Gill not too much further ahead with 8 laps remaining once they complete this lap. But as we head to the top of the timing screen, well, we can see that Tim Ellis is leading by just under 3.5 seconds from Stephen Williams. He is closing down that gap, corner after corner. Stephen Williams, cue the jaw music, because he has Tim Ellis fully set in his sights in that target line. Well, we can see there a bit of a puff of smoke that Stephen Williams has just travelled through as well, as Tim Ellis had a bit of a lock-up there as they're approaching a lapped car. I'm not entirely sure which lap car it is. Maybe it's Jose that they're approaching here, who's in P17, or maybe it's Nat. Not entirely sure, but will that lap car come into play? It will be Nat, but they will be overtaking here and approach him, who is participating, Nat, in his first ever second session now actually, after the feature race with the Mr. Baker's crew. As Nat, it looks like, I think, has gone round on himself there. He has indeed, so that wasn't ideal for Tim Ellis. Tim Ellis has to take a little bit of avoiding action there, and that has allowed, inadvertently, Stephen to close up the gap even further, as Tim Ellis has to take a much wider line to avoid Nat from going around on himself. And well, Stephen Williams has now got that gap down to 2 seconds, just under 2 seconds. Oh, this is going to be a very interesting end to this race, the last race of this championship here at Magny-Cours. Stephen Williams looking to end this season on a high. It's been a solid season for Stephen Williams. And well, in that beautiful West McLaren livery, he'll be looking to chase down the stalwart of the Mr. Apex community, Tim Ellis. So I'm intrigued to see how this fares, but it does seem Tim is starting to struggle a little bit under braking, and with those lockups, has he taken a bit too much out of his tyres here? No puff of smoke this time around for Tim Ellis, but this is where a lot of time can be made up, as Tim Ellis does dive into the pits. And I thought this was a sprint race and there was no mandatory pit stop, but it does maybe seem like there is a mandatory pit stop. It doesn't seem like Tim does have a a penalty to take, so maybe there is a mandatory pit stop that has been implemented here, unfortunately, inadvertently, for this session. It was supposed to be a sprint race, but Tim Ellis rejoins back out into P4, and he is let by Jose there, thankfully, nice and comfortably, and we'll have Mark Greenhow not too far up ahead of him as Stephen Williams takes the lead of this race. So maybe Danny Henney pitting very earlier on in this race was actually by design and not a forced error. So if it is indeed a sprint race and there is a mandatory pit stop here, that is incorrect, viewers, and we can blame Rich Morgan for that. So put your complaints towards race control, which is Rich Morgan. How dare you? He is currently racing right now, so that's, well, he was racing, but he's not focusing on that. As Danny Henney locks up there with Tom Jenkinson in his rearview mirrors, but he should comfortably have Tom Jenkinson in his. He should have Tom Jenkinson comfortably in his rearview mirrors for now, as he finds himself in P5 with Tim Ellis 3.8 seconds ahead. So I guess the question is now, if there is a mandatory pit stop, Stephen Williams, when is he going to pit? When is he going to pit? Because there is an opportunity of doing an undercut here, or sorry, an overcut on Tim Ellis. But with Danny Henney closing down that gap on Tim Ellis, it's going to be very close on the exit of the pit lane between our leader, Stephen Williams, when he eventually rejoins. And that of Danny Henny, who is 3.7 seconds behind our net leader, Tim Ellis. So intriguing times ahead of us. As further down the grid, we can see Spanners is on the attack on Dimitri here. We can see Spanners in that camouflage livery having a much better time of it, even though he did get T-boned earlier on in this race by Andrew Sexton. Apologies, Andrew, but I'm still going to keep reminding you of that, and I'm sure Spanners will as well moving forward. But yes, Spanners here in the last chicane, you can see a bit more conservative. If he was a bit more aggressive there, he could have got a better run on Dimitri, but he's well within the slipstream of Dimitri here as he makes his way into turn 3. He just needs to focus on his line, keeping that front end nice and tight and pointing into the apex where he wants to. Get on throttle early enough, and he has indeed, because Dimitri's gone very wide there, and Dimitri's gone off and around. Oh my goodness, he's hit the barrier. He's lost his rear wing, and Spanners, I'm sure, will take full credit of that because he was applying the pressure. And we can see that last corner, Dimitri got on throttle very, very early, too early, and aggressively hit the barriers there, rear on, and has now lost his rear wing and is in the pits as a result of it. But he will have a fast repair to utilise, and I'm sure he'll be able to complete this race out on track. But Spanners there now up into P11 as we join Tim Ellis as Mark Greenhow dives into the pit lane. We still have Stephen Williams out there on track as James Gill is looking for a move on Colin Walders. Oh, he looked for it up the inside of Colin. Colin saw it late, did lock up a little bit, and James is looking to try and get past Colin Wald here, who has had a very, very nice evening at Magny-Cours. So there's another knock-up from Colin there. But how does he fare for the chicane? He's got a nice wide entry. We know James Gill has been good through here. We saw that in the feature race. He was gaining on our championship winner as he's up the inside here of Colin Wald here. They're side by side. Plenty of room left between the two of them. Hard but fair and respectful racing. It's not over and done with yet as Colin Wald keeps the tighter line, but he's not able to get on throttle as early as James Gill. But they will be full throttle all the way to the braking zone of turn 5, and Colin Wald will come back at James Gill as James hugs the inside line there to defend to the inside, squeezes Colin on the outside, trying to make him cover more track. Colin breaks early, and James Gill, very, very good and attack and subsequent defence from Colin Wald there, holds on to P8, but Colin Wald overall has had a very, very solid evening and should be proud of the way that he has gone racing this evening in the last round of this championship. And it might not even be over yet for Colin, because we can see that Tom Jenkinson did lock up there, and James Gill and Colin are catching Tom, who is in P7 at a very, very quick rate of knots. So if Colin is smart here, he can use James to his advantage to try and capitalise on catching Tom out of position. And as we've seen so often here this evening, make the driver ahead and lose multiple positions. So yes. Right, jumping up ahead, we have Stephen Williams, who did make that pit stop and has come out 2.3 seconds behind Tim Ellis. So not the best of pit stops for Stephen Williams, as he is under attack from Danny Henny. He defends the inside. They touch as they make their way down the straight, down into the braking zone of turn 5. As Stephen Williams hugs it tight, but he locks up, and Danny Henny takes the outside line, does the switchback, and Danny Henny into P3. Stephen Williams unable to hold on to it, but it's not over yet as Stephen Williams looks down the inside of the chicane. Bold. That could have been an airplane crash there, as the front and rear wheels could have entangled, but it's not over yet. But you do suspect Danny Henny, with the form that he's been on this evening at Magny-Cours, will be able to pull away from Stephen Williams now. And I'm not entirely sure what happened with Stephen Williams, but he found himself out of position there and lost a bit of time to Tim Ellis, as just as we predicted, Tom Jenkinson, who was under attack from James Gill, did lose multiple positions from James Gill and Colin Wald in just a couple of corners, or one singular corner, and is under attack now on Colin Wald, who had a big lock up into turn 9, but Colin finds himself back into P8 as James Gill is now pulling away in P7 as Tom Jenkinson goes for the move around the outside, and he does the switch back on Colin Wald. What an unbelievable move there from Tom Jenkinson. Colin Wald went defensive, and Tom did the switchback. You love to see it, but it's not over and done with yet. These two, they tangled in the feature race, and they're going at it again here to finish this season in the sprint race with only 3 laps remaining. Great racing we're seeing here to round off what has been a dramatic, eventful, and undoubtedly fun championship here in the Mixed Apex series. Spanners now up into P10. I'm not sure if he still is yet to make that mandatory pit stop, as we saw Mike Stoner dive into the pit lane there and release Spanners into some clean air, so he's going to try and do maybe the overcut on Mike Stoner here and solidify himself a top 10 position, as we are back on board with Tom and Colin side by side into turn 5. No switch back here this time around. Tom Jenkinson picks that braking point perfectly there, even though it was on the inside, hit the apex, no lockup, and didn't allow Colin Wall that opportunity to do a switchback, which Tom did to Colin only the previous lap into turn 14, which we are about to approach now. So great racing between these two, fair and respectful. You love to see it, as all the while James Gill has been able to pull out that gap on these two as he's in P7. Tim Ellis is our leader of this sprint race, the final race of this championship, by 2.2 seconds over Danny Henney, who did start dead last here, in 17th place after winning the feature race earlier. He's now into P2, made a very early pit stop in this sprint race. I do understand that there is not supposed to be a pit stop in a sprint race. That is an unfortunate mistake by race control. But here we are. It has actually provided us a decent race here, as it is now lap 17 of 19. We've basically had 2 feature races, and Danny Henney, who pitted very late on the feature race when he was out in front and had track position, pitted early to ensure that he could try and get as much clean air as possible, and has done a very, very good undercut and finds himself in P2, now trying to chase down Tim Ellis. But it does seem like, unless Tim Ellis makes a conscious big error, which I don't suspect he will, Tim Ellis will be able to see this across the line with only 2 more laps remaining. Stephen Williams is in P3. Still not entirely sure what happened with Steve Williams in that pit stop. Maybe he just didn't nail that pit stop entirely, and he ended up coming out a couple of seconds behind Tim Ellis, and that led him susceptible to an overtake from Danny Henney, who was on the push and making a lot of ground with that undercut, as we are on board with Luke Power, who is the closest kind of really gap out there right now, who is trying to chase down a podium position here on Stephen Williams. These two have gone at it many times this season, and Colin Wall still trying to chase down Tom Jenkins. It's not over between these two. Under half a second. He is gaining every second he's in that slipstream, and you can see here through the middle chicane, under braking. Can Colin Wall stay nice and tight through here? He does a little bit. You can see a little bit of a lock up there from Tom Jenkinson. I think that was a little bit of a lock up. And well, how much has that maybe hurt him? Maybe he's been able to get away with it. You can lock up here at Magny-Cours and still benefit from the turn-in. It's not necessarily a massive detriment to you. There's another lock up from Tom. How that definitely was a detriment to him. You can see that gap is now down to 3.3 seconds, 3.8 seconds. And Tom is going to be given the slipstream, and that suck to Colin Wall. All the while they run through here into turn 1 and turn 2 and then into turn 3. Colin needs to just try and keep that front end pointed towards the apex as much as possible. Hit that throttle as early as he can while keeping it with track limits, and he's definitely done that. So here we go. Very long run down into turn 5 here, as Danny Henney is still gaining on Tim Ellis, but he's running out of laps, as we can see Colin Wall defensive. Tom Jenkinson falls about it, but he stuck to the racing line. Right decision to do so, but it's not over and done with yet, as Colin Wall will have the slipstream down into the turn 9 corner. We've seen drivers go deep into here before, under pressure from those behind, and then slotted through as very quick they make their way through that chicane of turn 7 and turn 8. And oh my goodness, Colin Wall nearly runs into the back of Tom Jenkinson there, but he still stays within touching distance. He's still within half a second. Very, very good avoidance there from Colin Wall, and it's not over yet. We're still just over 1 racing lap remaining here, as we are on the final lap of this race, as Tim Ellis is started this final lap being chased down by Danny Henney, but Danny Henney is running out of laps, and you can see there Colin all the while trying to push, utilising more of the track than possible, as he ran wide there in the previous sector, under braking here. It's all about this last chicane. Can he get a decent chicane? I think Tom had a little bit of a lock up again. You can see, yes, he's closer than before. Tom, big lock up there from him. He's under 2 temps. He's gaining. Is he going to have a move into turn 3, or is he just going to try and keep it tight and go on the attack down into turn 5, as Tim Ellis is holding off Danny Henney? It's all eyes on the fight for P8 here between between Tom Jenkinson and Colin Ward as Tim Ellis is holding off Danny Henny. But we want to go back to the battle between Colin Ward and Tom Jenkinson, as we can see Colin Ward in the slipstream as he goes off the track to take a move down the inside. He can't do it as Tom Jenkinson goes round. Oh my goodness, what a battle. Colin Ward forcing Tom into the late braking. Brilliant racing between the two of them, and Colin Ward comes out on top there. Fair play in P8 and P9. Tim Ellis is coming around the second to last corner. He has sustained a challenge from Danny Henny, and Tim Ellis wins the last race, the sprint race here, if you can call it that, in the Missed Apex Championship. Danny Henny in P2. He is our championship for the Missed Apex Championship this year. Stephen Williams in P3, Luke Power is in P4 with Daniel Cook in P5, Mark Greenhow is in P6 with James Gill in P7. Colin Ward, that brilliant battle, undoubtedly the highlight of this last race of the season, with Tom Jenkinson there in P9. Colin Ward there, you can see, coming across the line now with Tom Jenkinson in P9. Spanners finishes in the top 10. Much better result for Spanners there after getting T-boned by Andrew Sexton earlier on, with Mike Stoner in P11. Matt Trumpets is going to finish in P12 as Spanners, we watch, come across the line there for the final time this season. What an end. What an end. What a final race there. Here are confirmation of the final results. Matt Trumpets, we just mentioned, in P12. Andrew Sexton in P13. Todd Owen in 14th. Dimitri in 15th. Jose in 16th. Nat in 17th. His first ever race races overall, because it's a feature race with the Missed Apex crew. So well done, Nat. Good to see you. Hopefully it's the first of many. And Rich Morgan, race control in P18 after picking up that drive-through penalty. What a final race. But there's only one person we should be speaking to right now, and that is our championship winner for the 5th time. Have I got that right, Danny? The 5th time you're the championship winner?
Yeah, 5 championships, so yeah, chuffed to bits.
Wow. Nearly as many as your idol, Michael Schumacher. Just 2 more.
Yeah, 2 more off, but at least I got my 5th at the same place he did, so I'm chuffed to bits with that, as cheesy as that is.
Very well done. Brilliant feature race win, and a very sly undercut that you did there in the final race, but worked out very well for you. Maybe 1 more lap, 2 more laps, and you may have ended this season with 2 race wins.
I'd have had him, but unfortunately Mowden had some contact with Mike Stoner when I was coming back through the pack, and I lost 3 seconds because I had to bail over the gravel. So I knew when I had to do that it was going to be tough. But yeah, I thought I'll try a snidey undercut early on to get out the traffic, and then just put it as a time attack challenge then. But yeah, it was fun. Absolutely fun.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. No, well done, buddy. Thoroughly deserved, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one where you'll be trying to go for 6.
Yeah, if there's another season, definitely. I'll be in for 6. I've said if I can get to 7 and match the old man, then I'll call it a day and quit. But yeah, we'll see what comes.
Brilliant. Well done, mate. Thoroughly deserved.
Cheers. Thanks, Stuffy.
Unbelievable. Absolutely brilliant. And we will have a final word from the one and only beloved Netflix personality, Spanners.
Oh,
was that for you? And just give us your final words on the championship as a whole, because that was a mightily fine, entertaining race to round it off.
Congratulations to champion Danny Henny. Yeah, and everyone's so careful and respectful in this series. And even if someone snaps and goes like, "Oh, why did you do that, you turnip?" You know, we're all friends afterwards. And a lot of these guys came to the Missed Apex karting live as well. And I'm just looking forward to the next season.
Likewise, it's been an absolute pleasure commentating for you all. It has been a very entertaining last round of the season. We apologise that it didn't happen sooner, but I think the wait was undoubtedly worth it.